Using technology is all about making use of what we have, but as we all know, technology more often than not is a Skinner box designed to manipulate the masses, because no company has gone through all of this better than Discord. Now, hold up, before all those zoomers in the comments start calling me old and out of touch, I am just stating from what we know from the public record, and the public record shows that Discord doesn't believe in your rights and doesn't listen to any feedback you give them. Everyone knows about Discord, the free chatting app. It's basically like Slack, except it's run by like hipsters who think they're more hip than they really are. And of course, Discord is free of charge, but as we all know, being free of charge has a cost, and a cost that's often very obscure and hidden away from people. Discord tries to make it very public. Oh, we have subscriptions for better servers and streaming, and we can sell you games. But none of this can even remotely come close to solving like what I can only assume is a revenue problem they try to cover up and not tell people about. Voice chats are not cheap. They're not cheap for like companies to just run, like especially not run for free. Of course, how does Discord subsidizes? They have to do something. So naturally what they do is they copy all of the big tech companies and sell people's information. If people aren't aware of it, you should be. It's terrible. This is why I hate Discord. I mean, among other things. But even if you can stand like having your privacy violated by Discord, let's just take it a little ounce further, because I will bring up this instance of like bad thing happening to Discord. Now, I will give a warning, this is not for the faint of heart, okay? Now let's get into it. Furries! Members of multiple rival furry communities apparently fought over, yes, I'm not even kidding, discord.gg/furry. And one of the moderators gave the link from that he was to another rival group that he was a part of. Now, while the URL has been returned to the original owners, Discord basically published a thing basically saying how sorry they were. You know, it's a South Park, we're sorry. Sorry. And it proves the administration and moderation of Discord is corrupt and cannot be trusted at all. Now, I've complained enough. All the young people are gone. This is all stuff that happened in the past. I'm willing to bet all this stuff still happens, even if like people don't hear about it. But that's not why we're here today. You've read the title of the video. I want to have my cake and eat it too. I would like to use Discord and not have Discord slurp up all of my personal data or spy on me. So let's go over what we can do. All right, so and now I can guarantee you there are people like, well, why don't you use the app? You could try like using a virtual machine with the app. You could like sandbox it in like Fire Jail or Xpra or something and like try to deal with it. But there's a problem, all right? There's multiple issues with the Discord app, and I'm going to go through some of them right now. All right, first problem with the Discord app. Discord uses an outdated fork of Electron. Yes, they use Electron, an outdated fork of Electron that hasn't been updated in literally 2 years. Basically, if you value security or features in your program, nah, screw you. You don't get to have any of that. The local program of Discord, whether you use Windows, Mac, or Linux, will scan the processes on your computer the same way spyware does to find out what games and programs you are using.
No. It's not the same way spyware does. It's the same way that an antivirus does. It's very different.
And as far as I am concerned, they don't need to know what games I'm playing or programs I use. If they want to find that out, they can subscribe to my channel. All right, number 3, the Linux version of Discord is incredibly broken on Wayland. And as we all know, we need to future-proof our stuff, like using the Wayland display server, and they still only distribute a deb package or a tar package. So sucks to be you for having your preferences. You only get to use the deb package or a raw archive. You'll appreciate this one, partner. Discord dragged their feet to make an Apple Silicon version of their programs, because how long did it take for them to make an Apple Silicon version of their program? Almost 2 years after Apple made their original announcement.
But they have one now, Copium.
This is basically why I am not using the app. I know I can think of a better solution. All right. Second thing, all right? Do not use any unofficial forks of Discord. So I will not be making an unofficial fork of Discord. Any of the unofficial forks will get you banned, because we know from people who have made unofficial forks, they've all gotten like banned, or like Discord has taken legal action against them because Discord doesn't believe in your freedom. But the other issue is you also need to trust an additional party in addition to trusting Discord, who you can't trust already. So no forks, no front ends. We're gonna have to stick with official methods. So you're like, well, how are we gonna make an official way of using Discord? And I'm going to present you with this solution. We're going to use a Chromium-based browser, like say the Brave browser. We're going to create a progressive web app, so like a PWA, which is a way of running Discord through a web browser, just in a more desktop-friendly way. And then we're going to use a content blocker to clam up any telemetry that Discord sends home. And by using Chromium, we're getting a more secure and user-friendly experience that you would expect to have when you use something in your browser.
That stays up to date.
Thing number 2 is we need a content blocker, but specifically we need a content blocker that can intercept and block network requests. I'm going to be using Brave Shields, but in theory, you could use uBlock Origin. However, the deprecation of Manifest v2 is only but a matter of time, and we are all about future-proofing our stuff. Brave Shields will work past the deprecation of Manifest v2, so we are because it's built into the browser, not subject to the rules and edicts of the Chrome Web Store, so we can still do the exact same thing. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to be using a Chromium-based browser. So I actually already have Brave installed here. And what you're going to do is you just want to open it. And I'll be presented of this menu here, but I'm going to assume that you're not going to have this menu ready for you. So I'm just going to open a profile here. So what you want to do is when you open your Chromium-based browser, the first thing you want to do is you want to go over to the hamburger menu, the 3 lines. And then you want to go over here where it says create new profile. And this option should be present with you no matter what kind of Chromium-based browser you're using. So click on create new profile. And then what you can do is you can assign this profile a name. So like if you want to give this profile a name, so let's, for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to call this Discord, because you should consolidate Discord to its own little thing. And you can click on these things and change a color. I'm going to pick purple for Discord purple, just for simplicity's sake, and then we can also just pick an icon. You can't really I wish they would let you upload pictures for this, but unfortunately we get no such luxury. Then you click done, and then you'll be created a new browser, and you'll notice that it has different colored windows and stuff, and there's even a little thing at the top which says it's different text. Now, if you watched my video about Brave, one thing you are going to have to do is you're going to have to actually rebuild your settings for your browser. So whether you're using Microsoft Edge or Brave or whatever, you have to actually go in here and configure all of your settings all over again. I just want you to just for a friendly heads up, that's what you're gonna have to do. The next thing you're gonna have to do is you need to go log into your Discord account. What? You're using Discord? I thought you were over the age of 40. I am, but I am the 10% of people who's over the age of 40 who actually knows how to log into Discord. So the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to create a PWA. Now, Discord technically does not have access to a PWA, but we're going to try our darndest to do it, right? So the first thing you're going to do is you want to go up here. Again, we're going to go to the hamburger menu. You're going to have to get used to this. And then what you do is if you scroll down here where it says more tools, and then what you can do is you can go here and it says create shortcut. And what this is actually going to do is this creates a new shortcut for you to use Discord, and this is really for people who are using a desktop program. So if you're whether you're on Windows or I know this works on Windows and Linux. I don't know about Apple. I'm sorry. Now, in theory, what this does is this actually also creates here, you'll see it right here, it creates a desktop shortcut for you to use Discord. The real reason we're doing this is because this is an undocumented and official means to use Discord. So even if you do this, Discord won't ban you because it's a means by which they allow you to access their application. Next, what we're going to need to do is we're going to configure said content blockers. Now, you'll already notice here that Brave has already blocked one thing, and you'll see it's this thing right here. Now, I'm going to get it more into detail about this because if you actually, it's easier if you use uBlock Origin to actually discover some of these things. You can use uBlock Origin on Firefox or something if you're past a Manifest v2 deadline to actually figure out some of this stuff. You'll actually see in this log, in the uBlock Origin's logger, that there's actually a large number of requests here, and it's all, most of these end are like in assets dot random numbers and letters dot js. But Discord's actually pretty transparent about their API, I guess, because they assume no one's going to be looking at it. So you can actually figure out what some of the stuff is based on how you look at it. So, and this is actually more evident when you try joining a server. So when you join a server, so in front of me here, I actually have the Inochi2D Discord. You'll notice here that there's actually a ton, you get flooded with a ton more stuff. And Discord's actually pretty transparent about how some of their functions actually work. But we've got a problem. How do we isolate some of these functions so that they actually make more sense? So in my process of researching this, I actually discovered an incredibly long GitLab article from someone named Luna. And apparently she documented every single Discord API and call in the web app that she could possibly think of. So using her information, I've actually compiled the following domain names. We have discord.com/API/science, discord.com/API/track, and this is actually the data that was used by the furry fiasco to steal discord.gg/furry. Then we also have discord.com/API/applications detectable. This is what they use to detect applications, even though they can't if you use the web app. And then discord.com/API/friend suggestions, because Discord, you don't know who I want to be friends with. Be quiet. So in theory, you could do some of this in uBlock Origin. But we're actually going to do some of this in Brave Shields, because if we're going to be living past the Manifest v2 era, we got to be using technology that's future-proofed against it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click over here on Brave Shields, and you'll be presented with this. And this is, again, where I said, remember, API Science is going to come up. Is we're going to go over here where it says Filter Lists, and then we're actually going to configure Brave Filter Lists to do some of the bidding for us. We're going to go back to Discord, and you'll see here, remember, where in this pop-up here where it said discord.com/API/v9/science, this v9 is actually what we're going to need here to actually add to our content blocker. First thing we're going to need is you don't need to include HTTP or HTTPS. You can just raw type this out. So if you do discord.com, and we're going to do /API/v9/science. Now you'll notice that this is also the domain that appears when you use Brave Shields or uBlock Origin. And the reason why is because this is already blocked, because this is on the easy privacy list, which is in uBlock Origin and Brave by default. So you might not necessarily have to worry about this, but we want to make sure that we have all of our bases covered. And then we also want to do discord.com/API/v9/track. This is from the furry fiasco. Hasn't been around ever since. They actually, according to Luna, they actually replaced it with /science here.
Because science sounds a lot nicer than tracking.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to do discord.com/API/v9/applications. And then we're going to do /detectable. Again, this will block Discord from tracking your applications, which they can't even do anyway. So just reduce the noise. Then we're going to do discord.com/API/v9, and then we're going to do friend-suggestions. So once you have all of those in there, you just click Save Changes. And I also want to be clear here, you'll notice that we enter in 4 things here. When you open Brave Shields again, the only 2 things are blocked this time. So when you click Expand, you'll notice that it's only API v9 and only API Science. But it says that 2 things are blocked. That's really confusing. I thought when we added something to Brave Shields, we added 4 things. Well, the reason why is because Brave Shields here only blocks explicitly elements in pages. Like if you're just blocking requests, the number doesn't get added to this number here. And I'll show you why. So if you want to actually verify that what we're blocking is being blocked, if you go back to the hamburger menu, go to More Tools, and then go to Developer Tools. And this is actually going to pop up this menu right here. And what we're going to go to is we're going to go over here to this arrow when it says the network tab. We're going to go to the network tab, and then it's going to tell us to reload the page. So let's give the page a good old reload. And what's actually really cool about Brave, or if you use uBlock Origin, is because they're actually using a requested filter that's built into Chromium and Firefox, you'll actually see here in red that anything that's labeled under Science is being blocked, and that anything under Detectable is being blocked, which means we know that it is working. And even if this number just says 2, we are truly blocking more elements than we need to, than Brave Shields or uBlock Origin says we need to. So even if we've added what we need to add through Brave Shields, and we use the web app instead of using the program, we're not done yet. There's one final thing that we need to do is we need to configure the useless checkboxes. Yes, this is a real thing. Even if they are useless and Discord doesn't believe in your decision making, we should still go in and configure these. So you go into the gear, and then you get into the settings menu here. And what we're going to do is we actually want to go into privacy and safety. And then the first thing we're going to see here is we're going to see safe direct messages. Check do not scan. It's honestly shocking to me that they even allow this to be an option. But Discord, I am an adult. I'm over the age of 40. I know exactly what I am doing. I don't need you scanning my messages. Next thing we would like to enable is if you scroll down more, you'll see it says use data to improve Discord. You're not going to be doing anything with that. Uncheck the box. And it's funny because of Luna's messaging, even if you uncheck these, it literally does not matter. Discord will still collect it anyway and send it to their servers. So the next thing you want to do for privacy reasons now is you want to go to connections, and this would show here all of your connected games. I have streamer mode enabled, but even if I didn't, I would have literally nothing here. So if you've connected other accounts to your Discord, so like your Steam account, your Battle.net, Uplay, you know, whatever people do these days, this would all be listed here. Just uncheck everything that doesn't need to be here. Discord is so invasive, they try to make connections of all of the major game launchers. So just double check this. Make sure you don't have, like, you know, your Riot Game Smurf or whatever floating in here. The next thing you want to do is you want to go down a little bit more to activity privacy, and then what you want to do is, and I believe you should do this anyway because you don't want people knowing that you're just sitting around listening to music on Spotify or something. So just go here and like uncheck all of these boxes. I'm pretty sure most of these are unchecked by default, but just double check, okay? Then finally, the last thing we need to do, and this is probably something that I feel like is underestimated of people, is if you go to text and images, one thing that you might want to block, even though it's a little bit of a convenience feature, is this one right here. Show embeds and preview website links pasted in chat, and you want to uncheck this box. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what is this exactly? So if someone pastes in a YouTube video into one of your Discord communities or into a private message, that video will actually be pulled straight from YouTube into a little YouTube player. And you can actually see this if you visit like news websites or other websites. But one of the reasons why you should block this is because there are ways that if you are using like things like, you know, like say you're using like a VPN or you're using something a little more confidential, you can actually be exposed because the server is actually pulling the Discord user agent from your thing. So, and you're potentially warning, you know, Twitter and YouTube or whatever that, hey, I'm actually using Discord, and it's like, you don't want to tell them that. So just uncheck the box. If you click on the link that people paste in, you can just go visit the tweet or the, you know, the YouTube post like a little easier. I also do want to warn you too, because this is something obligatory that I have to know. Deleting anything on Discord doesn't work. What they do instead is they just X out everything to everyone else, but they keep a plain text copy for themselves. And you can actually see this plain text copy of your deleted messages if you request your data from Discord. All right, and as if the data report doesn't get any worse, there's another one. If you request that your data is deleted, you know, using you know, national or state legislature, like say the European GDPR or the California Citizen Privacy Act, nope, not allowed. You can't do it. They just ignore all GDPR and CCPA requests. It's to a point where I'm thinking that it has to be illegal, but nope, they ignore all of your GDPR and CCPA requests. They literally don't care.
When the government tells them they have to stop, they just ignore the government, and it works.
And then the last one, and I feel like this is a no-brainer, but I'm going to point it out anyway. Expect any message you send, any voice conversation you have, any stream you join or thing you stream, whether it's a screen share or something else, expect that it will be intercepted and viewed by not just Discord's corrupt moderation, but the corrupt moderation of servers that you join. So I just feel like I should point that out. I feel like it should be a no-brainer, because the admin of whatever service you're using can view whatever you're doing. Just pointing that out, it can happen. But as a final note, everything that I have done here is purely badness reduction. This will not completely prevent Discord from tracking you. I am merely showing you the most optimal way to use Discord. And unfortunately, for both people who like Discord and people who hate it, the best way to use Discord is to use it in your local Chromium-based browser, because their application is awful.
Leave an F in the comments. An F for furry.
Yeah, leave an F in the comments. Leave an F in the comments for all the furries who have suffered under the arm of Discord for so long. And while you're at it, why don't you go like and subscribe to the video. Alright, thank you for watching. I love practical tips like today. Hope you enjoy.